We provide three types of transactional advisory services. The first is we represent the sellers of privately held businesses. We can take them to market and sell the company for them. The second is on the buy side. We represent companies that are interested in acquiring other companies. We do the full acquisition search for them. The third is more of a facilitated services component of this. This is where we have both the buyer and seller identified, but they need help facilitating the transaction. We work with the owners of privately held small and mid-sized businesses. We're industry agnostic and size agnostic. So what this means is we can work with anyone from the small Main Street businesses to $40, $50 million companies that are going to be acquired by strategic acquirers or private equity buyers. From an industry standpoint, we've worked with companies in a variety of industries. This includes aerospace, it includes nuclear laundry, reliability engineering, your traditional professional services, technical services, food and hospitality, insurance, financial services. There are very few industries that we haven't worked with. I think there are a number of reasons why you should choose the Van Group to represent you if you're planning on engaging in a transaction, particularly if you're planning on going to market. I think the first one is that because we're business owners, not just in our professional service context of what we're doing here in the Van Group, but also because of our activities outside the Van Group. We have a long history of acquiring and operating businesses, and we continue to do so. So we have a great context and insight as to what goes on in the business owner's head. We've acquired and sold companies out of our own. Secondly, transactions are very much about emotion. It's an emotional roller coaster engaging in a transaction, and our job as intermediaries and facilitators is to manage that emotion. You can't do that unless you're fully committed to the process and fully committed to your client. Transactions don't sleep. They don't go on vacation. As my wife will tell you, it's not uncommon for me to get a phone call at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night with a client who's stressed out about something going on in that transaction. You can't learn how to manage emotion. It's either something that you're able to do naturally or you're not. We recognize that emotion is a critical component of a transaction. So selling a business is probably the most and critical transaction that you're going to take on your life, the most important. It's going to have a massive impact on your life. It's going to change what you do on a day-to-day basis. It's going to change your financial history and future. And having an advisor who can manage you through both the deal terms and the emotion is a critical factor to being a successful transaction. Lastly, I think it starts with the transactions that we've completed. If you look at our website, you're going to see dozens and dozens of tombstones, and these all signify successfully closed transactions. But what those tombstones don't do is tell you the story behind them. And there are great stories behind some of these transactions. And they've been in all shapes and sizes. We've had small transactions from mom and pop companies to those with $30, $40 million exits with private equity. They've involved partnerships. They've involved solo entrepreneurs and families and people who've never met each other. There's been a range of experiences, and they each have their own story. So many stories that we could probably write a book on the topic. And that's the value that we provide, is that we have 40 years of experience working on transactions. There's literally hundreds of them that we've involved in. Both those have closed and those have been unsuccessful, as well as ones have been very successful. When it comes to transactions, there isn't much we haven't seen. And the ability to manage a transaction in the same professional manner, regardless of the size, regardless of the type, isn't easy to find in one firm.